representing Lagos Central Senatorial District. I rise to move the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Joint Committee on Communications, Science and Technology, ICT, and Cyber Crimes, and Primary Health Care and Communicable Diseases on the investigation of the status of 5G network in Nigeria and its technological impact on Nigerian citizens. I so move, Mr. President.
Senator
Move on to not even recommendations. It's a well-detailed report, and it's just very bulky. I think, and the recommendations also touch on parts of the findings. The Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, at its sitting on Tuesday, 5th May 2020, resolved to mandate its joint committees on communications, science and technology, primary health care and communicable diseases, and ICT and cyber crimes to conduct a thorough investigation on the status of 5G network in Nigeria and its technological impact on Nigerian citizens, and referred same to the Joint Committee for further legislative action pursuant to Section 88 and 89 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So since I've craved the indulgence of the Senate to move on to recommendations, because in the recommendations we can still find part of the taking care of what happened in the findings. But it's a very detailed report, and I will also ask my colleagues to go into them. It's quite, we did quite to the glory of all the subcommittees, we did quite a good job, if I may say. Recommendations. Having carefully taken into account the immense socio-economic and technological impact of 5G over other previous generations of network, the overwhelming aggregate of favorable opinions for majority of stakeholders for its deployment, coupled with the fact that same has been successfully deployed in more advanced countries, the Joint Committee hereby shares the recommendations of very sensitive government establishments such as the Federal Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy, the Nigerian Communications Commission, the Office of the National Security Advisor, the National Information Technology Development Agency, etc., and other telecoms professional organizations such as the Association of Telecommunications Company of Nigeria, ATCON, Association of Licensed Telecommunications Operators of Nigeria, ALTAN, and the Global System of Mobile Communications Association, that it is appropriate for Nigeria to join the Committee of Nations that are engaged in the deployment of 5G for all its inherent gains. Though there is still a fair bit of work to be done towards creating the required environment and support ecosystem for 5G development in Nigeria, the Joint Committee is convinced that having witnessed what has been achieved by its lesser ancestors such as 3G and 4G, the technological impact of 5G will be such that will revolutionize Nigerians' way of life, from education to agriculture, security to entertainment, and governance in general if the technology is deployed. While the Joint Committee clarifies that there is no 5G deployment in Nigeria at the moment, and that no license has been issued to any mobile number operator on commercial basis, it is a recommendation that Nigeria should still observe the trend of 5G deployments around the globe and engage in extensive sensitization of the public through all channels before commencement of commercial deployments in Nigeria. Relevant government agencies are also urged to embark on preparing the ground for putting the necessary infrastructure and technology in place for its eventual deployment. This period of ground preparation is expected to be utilized to complete feasibility studies for the various broadband projects in order to ascertain actual cost implications for their implementation, complete sustainability plans, provide enabling environment, including free right-of-way, tax waivers, sustainable power supply, improve security of men, materials, and equipment, eliminate multiple regulations and charges, recognize telecommunications infrastructure as public utility infrastructure, and engender public trust and confidence. The Joint Committee further recommends that global standards for the deployment of 5G technology should be strictly adhered to, while looking out for lessons learned by countries that have already deployed in order to guide our own deployment. Lessons from South Korea, the first country with substantial deployment, will be instructive in this regard. It is imperative that intense safety standards and precaution based on available evidence are put in place for wireless radiation systems ahead of wide-scale implementation. Furthermore, given the infancy of the technology across the globe and the claims and counterclaims surrounding the possibility of health injury being posed to public health by the level of exposure to radio frequency, it is recommended that further attention should be given to testing and researching potential health risks that may arise from the deployment of 5G network in Nigeria, considering real-life situation rather than just laboratory conditions. The Joint Committee urged the Federal Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy to expedite the action of the committee put in place to develop consultation document for the deployment of 5G in Nigeria, which will include planning spectrum identified for 5G with the inputs of all relevant stakeholders, such as the relevant committees of the National Assembly and security agencies. The Federal Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy is also urged to publish the outcome of the work of its Technical Advisory Committee charged to advise on emerging technologies and products, and as a matter of urgency, build a national backbone which will run from Lagos to Katsina, Trans-Saharan optic fiber network, to move much of the bandwidth from the shore to the hinterland and for distribution to the geopolitical zones. Despite the almost general consensus concerning the harmlessness of 5G to human health, the Joint Committee hereby recommends that the Nigerian Communications Commission, in collaboration with the mobile network operators, Federal Ministry of Health, Federal Ministry of Science and Technology, Federal Ministry of Environment, and the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, among others, should locally conduct a scientific experimental study over a period of about 6 months to ascertain if a correlation exists between 5G networks and public health. Also, concerning the interaction between COVID-19 and 5G network technologies, the Joint Committee confirms and is convinced that there is no connection between them. The ongoing COVID-19 pandemic is caused by a biological agent, a virus, which is scientifically connected with the 5G technology. Responding to rumors across the world that link COVID-19 to 5G, the International Commission on Non-Iodizing Radiation Protection, ICNIRP, stated thus, I quote, "The claim that exposure to electromagnetic field generated by 5G can both cause COVID-19 and increase its severity are not supported by any evidence, not even extremely weak evidence, and the large body of scientific knowledge regarding the electromagnetic fields relevant to 5G demonstrates that those claims are not feasible." While appreciating the concern of the Office of the National Security Advisor over the national security implication of 5G technology deployments, the Joint Committee hereby recommends, as postulated by the Office of the National Security Advisor, the establishment of an interagency working group comprising of the Office of the National Security Advisor, the Nigerian Communications Commission, the Federal Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy, and other relevant stakeholders to assess and address all the national security concerns highlighted in paragraph 9.14 and develop necessary risk management framework that will ensure that future deployment of the technology will be done in a manner that protects Nigeria's national security interests. Conclusions. Mr. President, distinguished senators, the Joint Committee expresses profound...
to the chairman of the committees and to the chairman of the joint chairman for a very thorough and detailed and highly commendable report. I've been going through reports in the Senate, and I think this one is one of the best that we have received. And I hope, that this distinguished chamber will give this report and the recommendations contained in it the closest attention that is possible. The issues that have been raised and the recommendations that have been provided are not only far-reaching, but I think very fundamental to the development of our country. And I think after going through this, it will be very, very important if we draw the attention of the federal government, particularly the Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy and several other security and other related institutions that have been mentioned in this report, to the contents of this report, so that it can be action upon, and a lot of the recommendations that have been put up by this committee implemented by the relevant agency. I wish to sincerely commend the hard work that has gone into producing this report and recommend that a lot of the recommendations that it contains should be acted upon. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Recommendation is on page 63. It starts from page 63 of the report. Those in favor of recommendation 1, that is 10.1, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of recommendation 2, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of recommendation 3, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of recommendation 4, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of recommendation 5, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of recommendation 6, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of recommendation 7, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of recommendation 8, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of recommendation 9, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of recommendation 10, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor of recommendation 11, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you very much, distinguished colleagues, and let me also join the leader of the Senate in commending the committee, the Joint Committee, for a very thorough job, and will advise that those responsible for introducing the 5G technology to us should take cognizance of what we have passed today, they should go through our recommendations. I read somewhere about 2 weeks ago that the federal government is going ahead with the 5G. I am sure that there is need for very careful consideration of recommendations like this by those in authority, so that we get it right, and we should learn our lessons from those who have already deployed the technology. On the whole, the Joint Committee has really done a very good job, and I want to commend you for that. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues,